and welcome. We're going to do a little video today on some of the higher end, pricier Christmas gifts, not the stocking stuffers. We're going to get to stocking stuffers a little bit later. But the first thing I wanted to touch base on are some of the pricier items that might be helpful to any sewer in your life, quilter, sewist. The first one is one of my favorites, which is, this is a Sew Tights cutting mat. It is magnetic and it rotates, okay? So what I love about it is it's like a Lazy Susan, right? Which is lovely. My old one used to be square, and every time you turn it, those edges would knock stuff over that was around it on the table. So the round one is fantastic. Then it has these magnets. So this is a Sew Tights ruler. It has magnets built into it. So even without these special magnets on here, this is going to kind of suction itself to that table, okay? Then I can put these are called booster magnets, supercharged magnets, and that's gonna help this to not move, okay? You put your fabric underneath, you put your ruler on top, and now I can quite easily cut. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, so it's great. The beauty part about this is also, though, that any ruler will work with it. So this is just a Creative Grids plastic ruler, okay? Nothing special, nothing magnetic. You look, it does not magnetize to this at all, right? But I can put a couple of these on here, and it is gonna hold it a little bit tighter. So it's not the same, it's not gonna be the same magnetic strength as a Sew Tights ruler, but it is gonna give you a little bit of help. So if you are someone that likes to cut out for English paper piecing, foundation paper piecing, or you're trimming half square triangles, right? This can be really helpful because you can just sit here, get it all situated, and trim around it, take your magnets off, and get situated with the next piece. Now, this is their rotating version, okay? And I got mine with a 6.5 inch square ruler, and I also got 6 of these booster magnets, okay? So this is a great gift. I am in love with this. I use it all the time. I've been doing a lot of foundation paper piecing for an economy block swap. So this has been getting high usage lately. So I really like this. However, if your loved one, the person you're buying for, maybe doesn't need a rotating mat, maybe they need a big new cutting mat. I really like the big version of, they have a regular cutting mat that it's also magnetic, and they sell a number of different rulers that will work in conjunction with it. So if you know that somebody has a hard time holding the fabric steady, holding the ruler steady to get those accurate cuts, I think a Sew Tights ruler system and magnet cutting mat is a fantastic gift for them. Like I said, they are pricey, so a lot of times people will, quilters especially, are like, well, yes, I could spend a couple $100s on that, or I could just buy more fabric. It's a hard decision for us. So this is something that they would appreciate and probably would not buy themselves, most people. So I do think that this is a fantastic gift. Now, let's say they just need a new cutting mat, period, and they don't want the magnetic kind, that's not their jam. Cutting mats also have gone up in price, but it's really important that when you go to get one, you're getting a double-sided self-healing cutting mat. This is important for a couple of reasons. One, the double-sided nature means that you can flip it over once one side gets a little bit warm. So it's like double the usage, right? Because the more you use it, eventually they do start to degrade over time. The thickness of the mat does matter. Obviously, too thin is not great. Too thick is also not great because all that can dull your blade. I really like Martelli Notions cutting mats. They're kind of funky colors, but their cutting mats are very high quality, and they are double-sided. So just something for you to keep in mind if you're looking for cutting mats out there. Have I tried all the others that are out there? Yes, I have. I've tried Olfa and Creative Grids, and I have a little bit of everything in my stash. I just recommend at least a double-sided, and a Martelli is really a really nice brand that you can order. But then, like I said, I really like the Sew Tights as well, okay? The next thing that I would bring up that's on the higher end of pricing, right, would be this Mama Suki, we call her, my big Oliso iron. So this averages about $200 to $250 depending on the version and the retailer and the time of year. What I love about this iron, there's a couple of things. One, it automatically lifts up off the mat, okay? So you see how it's not touching the mat? And then when it's plugged in, it's not plugged in. When I grip it, it will lower down so that I can press the fabric, okay? And then when I let go, it'll automatically lift up. So no more of that scorching your fabric or your wool pressing mat, which I love. If you are a steam user, this one has a nice big tank for water. The other thing I love about this is that the temperature control is all the way up here, means that when you go to grab this, you're not accidentally hitting the temperature control and changing the temperature. My old iron, every time I'd grab it, I would hit it because it was down here and it would lower the temperature. So all of a sudden I'd be like, why isn't this working? And it would be because my temperature had turned itself down. Don't love that. This one also has a super long cord. So many times, like we go to switch hands or we go to get the farther end of the fabric and you're like running out of cord. This is a super long cord, which is fantastic. And it's back here up high on this like ball bearing. So it doesn't ever really get in your way. A lot of times they're installed down back on one side at that back end. And then if you try to flip it, like it can't, it gets stuck. But because it's up here and it's on this ball bearing, it never really, right? If I go like this, it's still not getting in my way at all. You see what I'm saying? Hopefully you see what I'm saying. This comes in a bunch of colors. Oliso irons, I really love it. So you can go check them out. They're linked in my bio. They also make a small version of an iron that's more travel friendly. It's called the M3 Pro Smart Iron. It has a smaller water tank. It does not have the lift up off the mat feature, but it does have a light in the front. I use that for sew days, retreats, quilting retreats, when I'm going to travel and sew with a friend someplace, because of a couple things. I love that it's smaller footprint, right? It's teeny tiny. It's lighter weight. It's great to keep right next to me, like at a retreat where you have your sewing machine and a little pressing station, so you're not getting up and walking across the room every time. The water tank for the steam is a little bit smaller, but it does have a little light on the front. So every time you put it down and you go to press, you're gonna see a little light up the space, which I like because when you're at those retreats or at a sewing space, the lighting may not be ideal. So I really like that it has that light on there. It holds the heat like crazy. So make sure you unplug that one well before you're ready to leave your sew day, because that puppy gets hot and stays hot. But I love my other Oliso. Under $100, comes in lots of colors. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is actually this table. So hopefully you can see this table here. This is from Home Depot, believe it or not. It is a Husky workbench. I get so many questions about this table. So many people want to know about it. It comes in a variety of lengths, shapes, configurations, with drawers, without drawers. This one is on wheels. It has two very shallow drawers. I keep all my rulers in the top drawer, and I keep all my bag hardware in the second drawer. So we're talking webbing, clips, rectangle hoops, like all that stuff. So I have webbing in one and all of my rulers in the other, because rulers are flat, and this is a very, very big drawer, okay? So it's great. I use this table for pressing because I have a wool mat. I ordered a giant wool mat. It was a little bit too long. I used with industrial scissors, not my fabric shears, and I cut off the end of the wool mat so it is fit perfectly to the top of this table. I can remove it and put a cutting mat on it and use it as a cutting station. I can use it to just organize things. I can use it for anything. I can move it around my room because it's on wheels. I love this table. It is also adjustable height. So if I'm standing and pressing, I can raise the table up. And if I want to set it in a chair, I can lower the table down. So I love this for so many reasons. It's in that $250 to $300 range. Home Depot at the time, I think I only paid $219 or something, and they delivered it next day for free. And it took maybe 10 minutes to put it together, and it is sturdy. I mean, this thing is sturdy. I have another adjustable height table that I bought from IKEA that was much harder to put together. It actually cost more money and is much flimsier. So this table is sturdy. And like I said, they come in various colors, various shapes, various configurations, some with a lot more drawers and storage. So it's a great option for your sewing space because it's gonna last and it's gonna be sturdy and you're not gonna worry about it. Great option. The same is true of the wool mat, right? Wool mats are not cheap. Get yourself a good wool mat. You'll be thankful that you have it. The next thing I'm going to talk about on the pricier end are shears, okay? Now, everybody has fabric shears. There's a couple different versions that you can get, right? So these used to be my high-end fabric shears. You touch my fabric shears and you will be committing a sin, an atrocity. These are Ginger fabric shears. They are quality fabric shears. These, my mom and I bought at a Joann Fabrics, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 years ago. They come in a little case. They're sharp, they're all metal, they're heavy, they're reliable, okay? And a lot of people will have Ginger. I used these for many years. Then I decided that because I'm having a lot of joint issues, this one, it's just a little hard to open and close. And if you know, you know. And I've tried oiling it and doing all the things. So when I was in Houston in October, I decided I was going to go on a quest for a new pair of fabric shears. I test drove both Kai and LDH, and I ended up with LDH. So I know that there's a lot of Kai lovers out there. Yes, they are quality scissors. I 100% agree. But after testing everything, what felt the nicest in my hand was the LDH scissor. So I ended up with the LDH Midnight Edition ergonomic scissors. So what I like about them is that they are coated in here with kind of a softer plastic material, which makes it a little bit softer on your hand than the just straight up metal. They also have a nice big opening. So I want you to see, like, I can fit all the way flat my hand in there, whereas in this pair, I cannot. Like, see how they just start to get jammed in there? So that's one of the reasons why I liked these, okay? They are also weighted. So if I hold this like this, you can see that there's a little weight back here, and that helps to balance the weight of the scissor. So when you cut, it stays straight up and down so that you get nice straight cuts. Okay, you can hear they move with ease, they're quiet as can be, and they are supposedly can cut through 64 layers of fabric at once. I wouldn't doubt that. I've cut through 8 or 9 at once and had no issue. I love these. I cannot rave enough about these, but I will say, once again, Quilters, we go, I could buy more fabric or I could get a really nice pair of shears. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna get the fabric. They're not gonna get the shears. So this is a great gift to get for somebody. Now, not only do they sell lots of shears, this is a 9-inch pair of scissors. They sell 8-inch, they sell smaller. They sell pinking shears. So if your quilt bestie has a beautiful pair of fabric shears but doesn't have pinking shears, that might be a great option. They even have a new scalloped pinking shear that's amazing. So instead of being just like the zigzag, they're rounded like little scallops. Really, really pretty, fun use of scissors. They come in a variety of, this was like a black edition with the Midnight Edition. They have some that are kind of that like, I think they call them prismatic. They're like the rainbowy metal. All different options. They even sell snips. Lifetime warranty. The people that own that company are fantastic. I really had a chance to talk to them. LDH scissors, they're linked in my bio. Now, the other things that I just wanted to briefly touch on are things that you could add to a space. So that is furniture for the actual sewing machine, like a new chair, an ergonomic chair. Arrow sewing is the chair that I use. I love it, but really whatever chair works for your loved one. And then a new sewing machine. So if they haven't had a new sewing machine in a very long time, the sewing machines nowadays do a lot more than they used to do. So you won't even realize it till you get one, but mine threads itself. Mine has a laser for lining up. Mine has dual feeds. Mine has a warning label to tell me when my bobbin is running low. Mine has so many stitches and an embroidery module, and it snips the threads automatically and ties them in a knot. All these things that my old Bernina did not used to do. So if they are using the same machine that they've been using for 15 years, it just might be something you might want to chat with them about. Is that something they're considering? Because there have been a lot of updates to sewing machines in that time. The same thing would be true as if they were interested in a long arm or a serger. Obviously, those are pricier items, and so they might not want to buy it themselves. The other thing I love in my space is my Feltrite wall. So I use it as not only color in my room, but I also use it as a design wall. So you can use push pins in it, regular pins in it. So right now mine is covered in stocking patterns and pin cushion patterns, because in order to keep my space relatively tidy, I either pin up what I'm working on, the fabric, the project, the quilt gets pinned up on that wall, and or sometimes it's the patterns themselves. So the pattern pieces, the patterns, and I use pins to stick them in there. It keeps them out of the way, organized, and so that I feel like I'm not working in a giant mess. You can customize those on their website. It's linked in my bio, but you can really customize from a plain like beige colored tile wall to crazy an entire room of rainbows. So you can go from a very neutral to over the top and design it for whatever size space you have. And they range in price from there. Very easy to install. I did it myself. They come very quickly and I installed it myself. This is the second room I've done it in, and I love my Feltrite wall. The other thing would be furniture for the actual sewing equipment. And so that would be like a table. Now you have a couple options when it comes to this stuff. I recently just bought a Sydney light table that is from Kangaroo Sewing, and it fits my machine. I have a Bernina 790 Pro, which is a rather large machine. It has a large footprint. And so I needed a desk that had a large enough space for that and to handle the weight of that machine. And it goes up and down inside of the table itself. And then it has wings that open up that allow me to, quilt, free motion quilt larger quilts, or have more counter space if I need it. The other thing is if you don't have space for anything like that, so maybe look into some of the other ergonomic tools that are out there. Martelli Notions sells some tilted platforms for your sewing machine that will help with your ergonomics. If you are on the shorter side or have shorter legs and you feel like you're constantly reaching for that sewing machine pedal, Martelli does sell a non-stick foot pedal rest that your foot pedal then you can adjust how high off the ground it is and what angle it's at to make it easier so you aren't feeling like you're constantly reaching for it and that's then throwing your whole body out of alignment and in pain. The other thing that I love is a Sew Steady table extender. So you know how your sewing machine and you have the throat and usually there's some type of plastic that goes around it, right? And it's usually a pretty small space. So if you're trying to work on anything larger, you're trying to quilt something bigger, you don't really have like the table space for that. So a Sew Steady table is custom made for your machine and it's made out of acrylic. You can get it in a variety of sizes and it allows you to just have more flat space to sew without feeling like things are falling off the edge of your sewing space. So Sew Steady is another great investment, a couple $100 depending on what size machine you have and what size you pick, but would be another fantastic addition to your sewing space. So that's everything that I have over on that higher end of projects, things that you may want. The only other thing I'd add on there is maybe a pair of Bluetooth wireless headphones, noise canceling preferably. A lot of times quilters and sewers like to listen to podcasts or audiobooks or music when they're sewing. And the problem is as we sit and sew, our machines might be blah, 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 blah. It's hard to hear. And so either we have to turn up that volume quite high, or if we have those Bluetooth noise canceling headphones, it allows us to hear that audiobook nice and clear and not have to blare the stereo in our space. So I think that that's always a great gift for any sewer to have in their space. So that would be something else you could add. And there's a million different kinds, whether they prefer over ear, in ear. I like my over ear noise canceling headphones because I don't like the things in my ears for very long. But everybody has a different preference. So that would be another great suggestion. So I hope this helps you get started on that holiday shopping for the quilter or sewer in your life. And next up, we're going to have a video talking all about stocking stuffers, those lower priced, smaller items that are extra beneficial.